Good morning. This is lesson number 5, the 5th Sunday in the spring quarter of March 31st, the year of 2024. Now, to some people, this is called Easter Sunday. But to us Christian folk, this is called Resurrection Day. So, there's nothing wrong with you calling it Easter Sunday if that's what you want to call it. Just don't forget that, as Deke told me earlier, this was the day that Jesus rose. So just don't forget that this is what we're celebrating. You have many folk today out running around, well, not today, but yesterday, all running around trying to find new suits and eggs and candy and all kind of stuff, Easter bunnies, trying to find all these things to decorate and put up and hide things for people to find them. But I just want you to understand that on this particular day, Jesus didn't hide anything from us. So there was nothing for us to go out and scavenger around for. So everything about Jesus on this particular day, he laid it out in our faces. Amen. So he placed it right there in front of us. If we didn't see it, it was because we chose not to see it. If we couldn't find it, it was because we decided not to look. That's right. Because if you actually went through this lesson with a fine comb as you should have, you'd have saw that after the women went to the sepulcher and they didn't see Jesus, they came back to tell everybody that he is risen. And John and Peter came running because they wanted to see for themselves. Yeah. So if you're not looking for it, it's the only reason you won't find it. They went looking because they didn't truly believe. Just like I've always been talking about. You believed it, but you didn't truly believe. We have faith, but we don't have 100% faith. We believe in God, but there's some things that we're still questioning because we don't completely have that faith. And that's what we got to work towards. We got to fight to get to that 100% faith because that's what God is looking for. And we'll get there. I mean, it's not going to be easy, but we'll get there. Every day is going to be a challenge for us because, the devil is not going to stop working either. So we Christians is what keeps the devil employed. It's because we're still striving to get to God, and he's working hard to get companionship. That's right. He wants company, and without company, he's left alone. He don't want to be left alone, so he's going to work hard as he can to make sure he's not there by himself, because he already know that he's not going back up there. He already know that. That's right. So he's doing whatever he can to make sure that he have company. Let's not give him that company. That's it. So, Resurrection Sunday. Now, before we get into the lesson, let's kind of take a step back and find out what happened before he came back. So, the things before he came back. Now, Jesus he'd done his Last Supper, okay? And he told Judah to go ahead and do what you got to do. So Judah ran off and he did what he had to do. But keep in mind now, every time Jesus did anything, whether it was a miracle or saving lives or preaching or teaching or going to certain places, even when he went to Calvary one time before, the one thing he always said was, now's not the time. Before he did anything, he says, now's not the time. Now's not my time. So when he says these things, he go ahead on and get done what he want to do because now it's not the time. So what he was basically saying was, today ain't the day they're going to get me. Today is not the day I'm supposed to be crucified. So I'm going to go ahead on and do what my Father told me to do because today is not that day. So every time he had something to go out to do, he always mentioned, now is not the time. But on this particular journey that he took back to Jerusalem, on this particular journey, he says, now is the time. And he started walking, going back to this one place that everybody wanted to kill him in the first place, because now was the time. He wasn't running from anything. So let's not get caught up into they killed Jesus. Mm-hmm. They didn't kill Jesus. I started studying through the lesson, and I see there's a lot of people thinking different things. And you got some people saying, well, if Jesus don't condone suicide, then why did he commit suicide on this day? He didn't. No. Okay? He didn't commit suicide. Mm-hmm. However, he just didn't hold back. You know, he stood his ground. He did everything that he was supposed to do. He took the punishment just like he should have, because the plan was he was going to draw all people that was against him to him. That was the plan. And he stated it before that he was going to be drawn into the hands of all sinners. All sinners. So everybody that didn't believe in God was going to witness this day. Everybody. Those that believed as well as those that didn't believe. And see, those that didn't believe and those that really hated him, they stood front row because they was ready to see what's going to happen to this man that was so-called the Messiah. They wanted to see that if he was just that powerful, if he really had enough of power to come off of that cross. Well, see, Jesus threw a curveball at him. He didn't come off the cross because they was looking for that anyway. Yeah. Now, I done told y'all before, if Jesus would have came off the cross, y'all know how all of these people go to jail. And they got these family members that say, no, I can't let them stay in there. I'm going to go on and get them. They can't stay in there tonight. So they go and they post bail and get them out. 3 weeks later, they back in there. And no, I can't let them stay in there. Let's go and get them out. 3 weeks later, they back in there. So what would have happened to us if Jesus would have came off of that cross and saved himself? We'd have said, well, we got support. If we get in anything, all we got to do is call him. He got us. He will save us. So we would be leaning on a crutch. This world would have been terrible. Everybody would have been doing what they wanted to do, when they wanted to do it, how they wanted to do it. And then they'd have just ran back to Jesus. Hey, can you help me out? I need some help. We'd have had a crutch. Jesus didn't want that. He needed us to believe in him. To believe that all things were possible if you believed in him. Right. And see, he done told us that we had to be Christ-like. So to be Christ-like, you got to act like Christ. All right, so and the way Christ act, he didn't mistreat anybody. Anybody he approached was a friend of his. Anybody was a friend of his. Even those enemies that took him up on the cross, he called them friend, not enemy. So if we want to be Christ-like, we need to learn how to be Christ-like and be friendly, which is our number one rule in the commandments, is to love. That is the number one rule. So we go back and we talk about how he did his crucifixion. Well, the Last Supper. He did his Last Supper, and the important part of the Last Supper was when he was anointed. It's when he was cleaned down. He was washed with the hair of Mary. He was washed. All the scents and the ointments was placed on him on this particular day. He didn't take part in the food, but he was cleaned down. No, just like we take communion and we wash ourselves up before anything, that was done to him. So on this day, when this lesson here starts, on that first day when they went collecting all the scents so that they can, anoint the body, right. What they didn't understand was the body was already anointed. Mm-hmm. So what they was trying to prepare for was already done. Mm-hmm. It was already pre-planned that he was going to be put in the grave on this day. That's right. See, there was nothing that anybody took from Jesus. He let us have that. We didn't kill him. He let us do these things. We didn't do anything that he didn't already say was going to happen. He even said that the sinners was going to crucify him. Yeah. And on the third day, he will rise up again. Mm-hmm. So let's just go on ahead and get into the lesson, because I'll just keep talking. It says, now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came. Now pay attention to that now.
Yeah.
They're going to keep mentioning they. It says, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. And they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. So, after they went back and they gathered up all the seed, what happened? They followed Nicodemus. They followed Nicodemus and Joseph back.
Yeah.
And they followed where they placed the body, and they saw everything that happened. They wrapped the body up in linen cloths and prepared them for burial. And they took him to this tomb, laid him in the tomb, and they watched all that because they followed. And they saw everything that was going on that Friday night. And it was going into Saturday when they followed him to that tomb. So when they saw where he was placed, then they saw the stone rolled back over the hole. They says, okay, this is where our father is laid. So we're going to come back and we're going to anoint this body. So they left. And they gathered all these spices just to get the body prepared.
Yeah.
All right, so because of it being the Sabbath, you know, me and Deke was talking about it earlier. You know, what day was the Sabbath? Anybody know what day the Sabbath was? Sabbath was that Saturday.
Right.
So being that the Sabbath was that Saturday, what happened was they rested, you know, given, you know, they was being respectful for that day. So they said, we're not going to do anything today. We're going to just go back, get all our things lined up, and then we're going to go back bright and early Sunday morning. Bright and early on that first day. That's when they was going to go back. But see, what they didn't plan on was Jesus was already going to be gone. Mm-hmm. See, they didn't know these things because, like I said before, they believed in him, but they didn't truly believe everything that he said. So when he said that he was going to raise up on that third day, all they saw was Jesus died on the cross. He was buried. He's dead. That's it. They thought that was the end. Because when Jesus said, this is it, they thought this was really it. It was over. And you're going to find later that there was two men walking down that road to Emmaus, and they were saying some things about the Messiah came. We thought that he was going to be the one to save us, but he died. Mm-hmm. So now what? They had their beliefs in this one man, and now he's dead. What now? See, they didn't even believe. Mm-hmm. They believed in this man. They was a true follower in this man. But they didn't believe in everything that he said completely. Because from the human eye, what they saw was Jesus was tortured, beaten, hung on the cross, and he died. Mm-hmm. That's what they saw. So just understand that just because you have all the facts don't mean you have all the truth. Just because you know the facts don't mean you know what is real. Mm-hmm. And that's what was going on here. They all knew the facts. The facts was Jesus was beaten, hung on the cross, and he died. Mm-hmm. That was the fact. He was buried, placed in that tomb. That was the fact. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't believe that Jesus was risen. But the truth was Jesus got up. Mm-hmm. Says, and they found the stone rolled away from the sepulchre. Now, these women going to the sepulchre. Now, they already knew that in order to get this stone over that hole, it took many men to put it there. Mm-hmm. Now, these women walking to the sepulchre, not one of them really thought about how are we going to move that stone. Right. Not one. But see, that's the thing about a true believer in Christ. Mm-hmm. That's how we need to be as a true believer in Christ. Regardless of what the situation looked like, you still head towards God. No. Regardless of what you're going through, mm-hmm. you still follow God. Mm-hmm. You can be going through anything in this world. You can have some people would feel like the world is about to close on them. Mm-hmm. It's like it's just the end. as long as you still looking towards God, that's all that matters. And see, that's what these women did. These women didn't care about who was going to move the stone, how the stone was going to get away. The only thing that they did was they went with a purpose. The purpose was, I'm going to anoint my father. I'm going to anoint this body. They didn't care about the obstacles that was going to be in the way. All they cared about was working for God. That's all we need to care about, is working for God. Don't worry about who's standing in your way. Don't worry about all these people that's telling you, hey, you don't need to believe in this, you need to believe in that. You don't need to be a holiness, you need to be a Pentecostal. You don't need to be a Baptist, you need to be a Methodist. You don't worry about these things, because the only thing that you need to worry about is God. If you worry about God, God will place you in the right path. God will place everybody where they need to be. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. Everybody don't need to be here in True Fellowship. Everybody don't need to be at Doors of Hope. Everybody don't need to be at Mount Pisgah. But God places everybody where they need to be. So if you're not in True Fellowship, it's only because God saw fit for you to be someplace else. Because help is where you need to be. You can't do no help in any places that you just want it to be, because that's not where you need to be. God will place everybody where they need it. So let's get out of all that. That church ain't right for you. This church ain't right for you. That pastor ain't preaching right. That pastor ain't doing this. That's not what you need to worry about. You need to worry about following God and letting God lead you in the right place. And it came to pass. Well, it says, and they entered in and found not the body of the Lord Jesus. And it came to pass, as they were much perplexed thereabout, behold, two men stood by them in shining garments. And as they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth, they said unto them, why seek ye the living among the dead? See, this is where this truth starts to come in. Like I said before, they knew all the facts. But now the truth is starting to come up into play. Yeah. See, the fact was, like I said before, the fact was Jesus was crucified and he died and he was buried. That was the fact. But now what's the truth? The truth is Jesus never died. Yeah. Jesus was never buried. His body was placed in that tomb. But Jesus never died. Jesus was never tortured. You saw that physical image. Now think about this now. The physical body of Jesus was placed in Mary's womb. That was no conception. That was a spiritual, physical body that was placed in Mary's womb. You can't hurt my spirit. You might can harm this flesh, but you can't hurt my spirit. So that spiritual body, it might have looked mutilated, but it wasn't hurt. It wasn't harmed. It was never killed. It was what you loved. Just so that you can see for yourself, because God needed you to have complete faith. So in order for you to have complete faith, you got to keep your eyes on whatever it is you loved. So if it was that body that you loved, he was going to keep that body visual to you. So what happened was that physical body left off of that cross. That physical body was wrapped up. That physical body was placed in that tomb. And when they went and looked in that tomb, they didn't see a physical body, but they still saw the linen cloth that was wrapped up as if it was still over the body. So if it was not a real body, then that spiritual body can go through anything. He don't need your permission to do anything. Like all them that was telling him, look, if you are really the Messiah, get yourself off of this cross. He didn't need to put on no show. Why do he need to come off of this cross so that you can watch everything? Just have belief in him. Have belief. When you go to that tomb and you don't see him, now have true belief. Because on that cross, anybody can watch him come off of that cross and say, oh, wow. Yeah. Did y'all see that? oh yeah, I'm going to follow him now. No, he don't want you to follow him now. He wanted you to follow him then. Look, there's something that I used to say, and probably still think it, but only to certain people. And what it was is, if I was struggling before I met you, and you didn't like me, and now that I got it good, and now you're trying to get in close to me, stay where you was. Because you wasn't with me when I was coming up. You only got with me when I was up. So now that I'm up, you stay where you was. So when it come to God, God don't want you to come to him only when you need help. God wants you to come to him every day, whether you need him or not. Because if you only come to God when you need help, those are going to be unanswered prayers. Because God talks to people who he knows. If you don't have a conversation with God, if you don't have a relationship with God, God don't have a relationship with you other than the one that he already promised.
That's it.
And God promised you everlasting life, and he's not going to take that back from you. That he is not going to take back. Everlasting life, you got that.
You.
Now, how you spend it is up to you. So if you don't want to follow God, your everlasting life is going to be in hell's fire. But if you follow God and do what he say, then your everlasting life will be with him. So it's all up to you. It's how you see fit to spend it. Says, now when he spoke here, it says, why seek ye the living among the dead? He was talking to him. Because what these angels was actually saying was, God never died. Jesus never died. So you come to a graveyard, we go out to a gravesite to pay our respects to the deceased. Why? Can anybody answer that question? Why? Why do we go to a gravesite to pay our respects to the deceased? That's all it is. It's just a reminder that the body that we used to know lays in there. Yeah. But the person that we know stays with us. Yeah. So why did they go there to seek the living amongst the dead? Who he was not in there. It was always with us. That's it. The person that Jesus has always been has never left them. They went mourning a body, not who he was. They were sad about the body, not who he was. So why go to a tomb to seek the living amongst the dead? See, you go to places like that when there's things that you have forgotten. Many people very rarely show up to graves, but they think about their loved ones all the time. Yeah. Now you got some that show up to graves all the time. Yeah, you sure do. And don't never think about their loved ones. You remember some of the things y'all used to do together. That's why you go out there, man. I remember when we used to do this. I remember when we used to do that. But you don't have them in here. So yeah, you're going to keep going out there because there's some things that you are forgetting about them. Like I said before, I'm living my life to be missed, not remembered.
Also, the teacher, I had this sister say, a lot of people go out there and remember what they did wrong in those, what they did. Now they're looking for peace.
That's the only thing they're looking for. They're seeking some clarity. Yeah. That's all, seeking clarity. And most of them that was out there at the tomb, they wasn't looking for Jesus' body to be missing. They was looking for it to still be there. Yeah. Because they remember what he said. He says on the third day he would rise. That's right. Well, actually what they said was in 3 days he would rise. And see, this is where they're starting to get things mixed up at. Because they said Jesus told them in 3 days he would rise. I want y'all to know it wasn't 3 days when he came back. It was on the third day as he said. There's a difference from 3 days and the third day. See, because he went down, he died on that Friday night. So the body was torn down on that Friday night. Saturday he was buried. Sunday he was up. That's the third day. So people getting these things mixed up. They think that from sun up, sundown, that's one day. Sun up, sundown, that's the second. No. That first day when he was on that cross, that was day one. And he says on that third day, I'm coming back. So all those that didn't want to believe in him, they need to start believing now. Because he's going to show them.
Oh, yeah.
And see, this is the things that they're telling these women is things that Jesus already told them from the beginning. Because they went there looking for this body, and the angels told him, says, he is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spake unto you when he was yet in Galilee, saying, the Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, and be crucified, and the third day rise again. There you go. Not in 3 days, but on the third day he will rise again. But he first had to be delivered into the hands of sinners. Everybody played their part. Like I said before, don't get upset at any of these people that had something to do with this crucifixion.
Yeah.
Everybody played their part. Everybody did exactly what they were sent here to do. Judah didn't think he would be the one to betray God, but he did.
Yeah, he did.
Let's not get upset with him.
Like you said, even Judas had a chance like everybody else.
Yeah.
Chose to make that decision.
He chose to make that decision, but see, the thing about it was already in the plan. That's why Jesus looked at him and said, the thing that you got to do, go ahead and get it done.
Do it now.
Because it was already in the plan. And I just look back there and see my girl Mika back there. Oh, wow. How you doing, Mika?
Amen.
Yeah, it says, he will be delivered into the hands of sinful men. These sinful men was all of us. All of us. Let's not point fingers at anybody. It was all of us. Every one of us had a part in this. Because even today, every one of us is still doing things that he do not approve of. We are still learning how to be Christ-like.
Right.
We're still learning. We're not there yet.
No, it ain't.
We're still striving to get there. And when we get there would be our day. That would be the day that we say the same thing that Jesus said and says, now is that day.
Yeah.
Until then, we're still learning.
That's it.
We're practicing how to be good Christians. Good, faithful Christians is what we're practicing how to be right now.
Right.
And they remembered his words and returned from the sepulchre and told all these things unto the 11 and to all the rest. It was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary, the mother of James, and other women that were with them, which told these things unto the apostles. What thing did they tell the apostles? Jesus is alive. He is risen. I went there for myself and I saw it. I saw the tomb was empty. I saw the linen cloths laid there just as if the body was still there, but the body was gone. I seen the headcloth folded up, neatly folded by the door. Couldn't have been no grave robbers. When grave robbers steal, they just take cloth laying right there where it is if they leave it. They not taking their time to fold up anything. And why fold it up right there by the entrance? Why? And their words seemed as idle tales, and they believed them not. This is what's going on with us today. Y'all pay attention to what I just read at verse 11. There, who is there? Who is the there? Whose words? Their words. Who is there?
Talking about the women.
The women. Okay. So all these verses where you see they, there, we're talking about these women. The first ones that got up to go and seek Christ was the women.
Yeah. Yeah.
The women went out. The women did this to find their God. The women went to anoint the body because it wasn't anointed per them. You know, so the women got up and they did all of these things because it's got to get done. Why the men wasn't there? I'm going to tell you this here. these men in here, they believed. I mean, they was true followers. Now, they was true followers.
Yeah.
They was Jesus' rightful followers. They was right there with him. They believed in him. Whatever he was down for, they was down for it. But once he died on that cross, that was it for them.
They forgot it.
It was done. They felt shattered. It was over. Felt like their life was over right there. But these women went out. And because of these women, the message got out.
That's right.
So you gonna tell me that a woman can't carry the word? They carried it right here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The message got out
That's right. The message got
that Jesus has risen. So once that message got out to all these men that Jesus has risen, these men was like, I don't believe that. Not coming from the mouths of a woman. I don't believe that. So they leave to find out for themselves. Peter and John left.
running.
John ran past Peter. Got to the sepulchre first. But he didn't go in. Why? Just my observation. He was afraid of what he might see. He was afraid of what he might see.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe they telling the truth. Maybe they're not. Maybe the body just got decayed. Maybe it didn't. He wasn't sure. Tell you like me. If any of my children run to me and say, Daddy, I see a snake out there in the yard. Oh, I'm a man. I'm going to go and check on it. But I'm scared. I'm telling you right now, I'm scared, but I'm going to go check on it. I'm going to act like I'm bold. I'm going to walk out there, but I'm hesitant. I'm creeping because I don't know what I'm about to walk up on. John didn't know what he was going to expect. So instead of running in, he got to the entrance and stopped. Peter got there. And Peter looked in and stooped down. He didn't even run up in there. But he got there, stooped, and looked until he saw what he could confirm. The body was gone. So now he can go back and tell everybody the body is gone, but see, Jesus gone too. So now, only thing they got is what the women said, what the angel said, and what Jesus told them before he was crucified. Now, remind you now, they still going on with all this. Jesus said he was going to come back. Oh, wow. I don't see him, but there was two others that was supposed to have been guarding that sepulcher. What happened to them? Where did they go? They was afraid too. So they was trying to find out some way to cover for themselves. They needed to find some way. Hey, somebody took it. They had to find some way to cover for themselves because they was in trouble now. The body is gone because they was placed there so that Jesus' disciples couldn't come and steal the body back. Jesus' disciples didn't even know the body was gone until they showed up. Then arose Peter and ran into the sepulchre. Then he got up and ran in the sepulchre. And stooping down, he beheld the linen cloths laid by themselves. And departed, wondering in himself at that which was come to pass. Everything that Jesus had told them was going to happen has happened. But y'all know one thing? The facts is right there in front of them. They still don't know yet.
No.
Now, where's the truth? They know all the facts. What's the truth? See, that's the thing that they got to worry about here. They got all the facts. And the facts is still pointing to Jesus should be dead. But where's the body? So now the body is missing. What's the truth? Did somebody take him? Or did he really get up? It wasn't just the spirit that moved. That whole body was spiritual. So that whole body left. That body was not put together by Mary and Joseph. That body was put together by God himself and placed inside Mary's womb. So when that body went down, that whole body had to come up. There was nothing spiritual inside that it just needed to come out of that body so the body can go back to the ground. That body was placed in Mary. It wasn't formed. That body wasn't created. It was placed there. That body was made in a manner to be able to take such abuse. None of us could take that. The first time getting hit with one of them lashes, I'm gone. I'm telling you, I'm not soft, but I'm gone. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to pray I'm dead. Because I ain't taking that no more. That would be it for me. Jesus took it all. Took it all. And on top of all that, he still managed to carry the whole weight of the world on his shoulders till the day of crucifixion. He still managed to do all of this because he wasn't doing it for himself. He was doing all of this for us, that we might believe and that we might be right. Not so that he can be glorified, so that we could be saved. He took all this punishment for us. And it came to pass as he sat at meat with them, he took bread, blessed it, and brake it, and gave to them. Who? The two men. What was their names? They mentioned one of them. Cleophas and the other guy. Cleophas and the other guy. So, Cleophas and the other guy, they were two of his disciples. Now, along the way, between all of this meat that y'all didn't taste, along the way, Cleophas and this other guy ran into Christ. They met him, but they didn't know who he was. Now, mind you now, it's the same body, the same man, but they don't recognize him. This man they've been following for the longest. They don't recognize him. Why don't they recognize him? Because just like us, if somebody tell us that somebody is dead and gone, if we walk past somebody that look just like them, it'll either scare us half to death or we'll be shocked and surprised. So they took out of their mind that Jesus was gone. Jesus is dead. So the first conversation they had with him was, haven't you heard of what happened down here? The Messiah was put to death. The man that we thought was supposed to come and save us was put to death. They killed him. They crucified him. And we thought he was going to save us. What now? Again, they thought that was the end. They thought everything was over. They did not believe this man. But see, common courtesy. That's why God always says love one another. Common courtesy had these men bring Jesus back with them. Look, it's getting late in the evening. You don't need to be out there walking now. Come back with us. Stay with us. Have meat with us. So they get back and they have a feast. And what Jesus does. Now he's at their house. He shouldn't be doing this. He's at their house. But what he does is he take the bread. He break it. He bless it. And he give it to them. The same thing he did before.
That's right.
And that's when they remembered who he was. And I'm just going to say they turned and looked at each other in amazement. They looked. And when they turned back, Jesus was gone. See, that's because he was still in his spiritual form. The whole body was there, but he was still in his spiritual form. He has not yet ascended. He was still in his spiritual form, so he can walk through anything. He just left. He just vanished, just disappeared. And their eyes were open and they knew him. And he vanished out of their sight. And they said one to another, did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us by the way? And while he opened to us the scriptures. Everything that he has already talked to them about, he brought it back to their remembrance. As often as you do these things, do it in remembrance of him. So every time we take communion and you grab your bread, remember that that is his body. Remember that that body was mutilated just so that you can be saved and have another chance. Remember that that cup that you're drinking is the blood of God. That's the blood that he shed so that we could be saved. So, because if you do these things and you're not remembering why you're doing it, then the reason you're doing it is all in vain. You have no meaning behind it. You're just doing it because everybody else is doing it. That's why you took the cup, because everybody else took a cup. I stood in line because everybody else stood in line. I drank because they said drink. I broke it because he said break it. I took it because he said take it. Not because you understood and you remember, but just because you was following what somebody else did. Now, I ain't saying following somebody else is wrong, because a lot of people become Christians by following what somebody else has done. But at some point, I always say it, study for your own approval.
That's right.
At some point, you got to learn why you're doing certain things. You got to understand why you're taking part in certain things. Like, look at this Easter thing. Growing up, when I was a toddler, mom and daddy would get us all dressed up, give us new clothes on Easter. Now, granted, we had church clothes. We had church clothes, but just for some odd reason on Easter, we go out and we buy some new clothes and we wear it to church on Easter. And they say it's Easter. And we understands that we going around, we might go search for some eggs that day, and you know they got bunny rabbits out and all this. But mom and dad would always say, this is the day that Christ rose.
That's right.
They never really mentioned the fact about this is the Easter bunny day. This is the day that Christ rose. Yes, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to enjoy Easter. I'm going to enjoy that bunny. I'm going to enjoy them eggs. But mom and daddy always say this is the day Christ rose. Even as I got a little older, it was still Easter. We going finding eggs and you're still remembering that this was the day Christ rose. Now, what I'm trying to get at is, because I'll just keep going on and saying that, so I'll just tell you what I'm trying to say. Don't forget that this is the day that Christ rose.
That's right.
Have fun. Enjoy Easter. You know, go and find your eggs and get your little bunny rabbits and your little prizes and toys and candy. Get all this stuff. Just don't forget that this is the day that Christ rose. The reason we're doing this is because Christ rose. If Christ didn't raise from the dead, we wouldn't even be doing this.
Sure wouldn't.
If Christ would not have ever sacrificed his life and came back. See that the resurrection part, that's the important part. The coming back is the important part. Him just dying, that was a part of it. He had to die for us. But now, for our future, he had to raise. He had to come back so that our future would be right. If he never came back, our future would have been shot. We still would not have believed in him. But because he came back, that fulfilled everything. Everything that we needed about him, it fulfilled it because he came back. So just don't forget that Easter has nothing to do with the bunny, but everything to do with God. Yes, ma'am.
Why the bunny? The eggs, I don't understand about them.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't either. And that's the important part. Don't forget what it's really for.
what we said this morning.
Distraction from Christ.
See, because God he mentioned to us, don't ever take any other God over him, not even idol gods.
That's right.
So by the simple fact of people placing a bunny rabbit on this special day, that's trying to put another idol for us to worship instead of God. So let's just not forget. Have fun, like I say. Have fun. Do what you do. Because I'm probably going to go and find me an egg or two myself. Have fun doing it, but don't forget that this is God's day.
That's right.
Don't forget it. That's the reason why we celebrate Christ's Day on Sunday now, because this is the day that he rose on a Sunday. The Sabbath day was that Saturday, and that was the day that they left holy for him. But because he came back on that Sunday, we worship it on Sunday. And they rose up the same hour and returned to Jerusalem, and found the 11 gathered together, and them that were with him, saying, The Lord is risen indeed, and hath appeared to Simon. And they told what things were done in the way, and how he was known of them in breaking of bread. Everything that Jesus had foretold to them this whole entire time, he has come back to fulfill it. He came back just so that they can see for themselves. Because look, his 11 that he had left with him, that was the future's hope. What they believed in was the future's hope. Just by God, he was on the cross, he was crucified, that was foretold. Says that on the third day he'll come back, that was foretold. And them women going back, finding him, and he finally, when he was on the cross and he actually tasted the wine, that was foretold. Mm-hmm. All of these things was foretold. Right. Nobody believed in what he was saying. So these 11, for them to find out that Jesus is risen, that's our future. Because if they would not have relayed any of this information that says Jesus came back, we still be lost. Because we still would not have believed it. Just like now there is still some doubt in us. If it hadn't been for those 11 still telling that Jesus came back, it would have been more than just a little doubt. We'd have gave up a long time ago. We wouldn't have loved anybody. Because what was going on with Jesus, we wouldn't have loved anybody. Because Jesus loved everybody and was crucified, so we'd have been hating the world. Why love them if the world going to treat us bad? That's how we'd have been thinking the whole time. Some of us are still thinking like that. Yeah. The world mistreats me. Why should I do good for them? They treated me wrong. Why should I treat them good? So if Jesus would have went through all of that punishment, and those 11 wouldn't have never relayed what they found, all we'd have saw was that good man died for nothing. And we wouldn't have took a chance on anybody. But because that good man died for all of us, and those 11 relayed this message, there's hope for the future. But in order for hope to be for the future, it takes the present people to relay this message today. If we stop relaying this message today, the future is shot. Right. Just like if that 11 wouldn't have relayed that message, our future would have been shot. So it's up to us to relay this message. Keep alive that Bible. I know they got it in the phones and iPads and computers, all this stuff. We got it digitally now. Guarantee half of us right now, all the apps on our phones is everything except the Bible. And the Bible is the last thing that anybody would pick up. You can walk in most houses right now, and the Bible, you can probably not even open it up because the page is still stuck together. If we're not reading in the house and nobody's teaching outside, we're not learning anything else. That's just like school. Kids don't want to go to school no more. They stop learning. The future is shot. Everybody going to be complaining about why the president is doing this and why the president doing that. We ain't got nobody to sit those seats because nobody wanted to learn. And because nobody wanted to learn, you can't complain. You just got to take what life give you because you didn't want to learn it. I'm done. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking about politics. I'm done. I'm going to turn this into the hands of the superintendent.